Lena
Why are
Vasquez
you
had made
here?
exactly
I had
one
to
bad
see you.
decision in an otherwise
This isn't
remarkably
right.
practical
Shh, it's
life,
okay.
and that decision was trusting her college roommate Diane's definition of the word, empty. Diane had said the lake house was empty. She had said it with the confidence of someone who believed this to be true, which turned out to be a meaningfully different thing from it actually being true, and the distinction was one Lena was processing in real time while standing in a marble bathroom in a towel at 11 o'clock on a Friday night in the Catskills with the sound of the front door opening somewhere below her. She was 31, a high school English teacher from Albany with a practical nature, a preference for honesty, and absolutely no business being in this particular bathroom at this particular moment. She had driven 3 hours from Albany after the worst week of her professional year, a school board decision that had gutted the arts program she had spent 4 years building, delivered on a Thursday afternoon with the institutional indifference of people who had never once been moved by a piece of writing in their lives. Diane had said take the lake house, nobody's using it until Thanksgiving, the code is the same, go decompress. Lena had packed a bag and driven north and found the house dark and empty and let herself in with the code that had not changed and had a glass of wine and drawn a bath because she deserved one and had been in that bath for 45 minutes letting the week dissolve. She had found the towel on the heated rack. She had not yet found her clothes, which were in the bag she had left in the guest room, which required crossing the hallway, which she had not yet done because the sound of the front door was followed by the sound of multiple sets of footsteps and low voices and the particular quality of movement that belonged to people who were entirely at home in a space and had not been told to expect anyone else in it. Lena stood very still in the bathroom and looked at herself in the mirror and ran a rapid and unflattering assessment of her options. The window was decorative. The towel was substantial but not a substitute for clothing in a social sense. Her phone was in her bag in the guest room across the hall. The bathroom door did not lock from the inside, a detail she had noted with mild curiosity earlier and was now noting with considerably more urgency. She could hear them moving below, at least 3 people, maybe 4, the acoustic pattern of a large, open space being navigated by a group with a clear sense of direction. Then one set of footsteps separated from the others. Coming up. The footsteps were unhurried in the specific way of someone moving through their own home, confident and directional, not searching, simply going where they intended to go. They came down the hall. They stopped outside the bathroom door. There was a pause. Then the door opened. The man who stood in the doorway was somewhere in his early 40s, dark-haired, with the kind of face that had been constructed with more attention to function than symmetry and had arrived at something considerably more compelling than conventional attractiveness as a result. He was in a dark jacket over an open-collar shirt, and he was very still in the way of someone who had been surprised and was managing the surprise before responding to it, which was the behavior of a person who had learned that initial reactions were expensive. He looked at Lena. Lena looked at him. She was aware, with the particular acute clarity of an extremely awkward moment, that she was standing in his bathroom. She understood immediately and completely that this was his bathroom, his house, his marble floor and his heated towel rack, wearing one of his towels and approximately nothing else. "Who are you?" he said. The voice was even, not threatening, genuinely asking. "I'm Lena Vasquez," she said, because her name was true and available and it seemed like a reasonable place to start. "I'm a friend of Diane Marchetti's. She told me the house was empty. She gave me the code. I am deeply sorry about the towel. It was on the rack and I didn't think." She stopped. "Reorganized. I have clothes in the guest room across the hall. I didn't know anyone was coming." Diane said. "Diane Marchetti," he repeated. He said the name the way people repeat names when they are cross-referencing something internal. Then, briefly, "She's my cousin's wife. She's my college roommate," Lena said. He looked at her for a moment, not in a way that was inappropriate, in a way that was assessing the situation with the methodical patience of someone determining what had actually happened before deciding how to respond to it. "She did not mention she had given anyone the code," he said. "Based on available evidence," Lena said, "she also did not mention to you that she had given anyone the code." Something shifted in his expression. Not a smile. The precursor to one, the thing that happens in a face before it decides whether a smile is the appropriate response. "No," he said. "She did not." He stepped back from the doorway, fully and without ambiguity, creating space that was clearly an invitation for her to retrieve her clothes without any further awkwardness, which Lena appreciated with the specific, grateful relief of someone whose situation had just become 30% more manageable. "I'll give you a minute," he said. "There's a robe on the back of the door." He pulled the door closed. Lena put on the robe. She crossed the hall to the guest room, changed into the clothes she had packed with the speed of someone operating under moderate urgency, and came downstairs with her bag and the towel folded on top of it because the towel was his and returning it seemed like the correct gesture. He was in the kitchen. Alone, the others had apparently dispersed to some other part of the house or property. He was making coffee with the ease of someone who operated best at a low social register, who preferred quiet to noise and substance to performance. He looked up when she appeared on the stairs. "I'll go," she said immediately. "I'm so sorry. I'll get Diane to explain, though I can't fully promise she'll be coherent about it." "It's 11 at night," he said. "The drive back is 3 hours." She held the folded towel. "I'll be fine. Sit down," he said. Not a command. The suggestion of someone who has assessed a situation and found the dramatic exit option to be less sensible than the practical one. "I'll make you coffee. You can drive back in the morning when it isn't dark and you haven't had wine." She looked at him. "How do you know I had wine?" "There's a glass on the coffee table in the living room with about a quarter-inch left in it and a very good bottle on the counter that's lost approximately 1 glass worth." He did not say this with judgment. Just observation. Lena put the folded towel on the kitchen island and sat on the stool at the far end of it. "What's your name?" she said. He set a cup of coffee in front of her. "Nico Sartori." She received the name without the recalibration it would have produced in certain people in certain rooms, because she was a high school English teacher from Albany who did not move in circles where the name Nico Sartori produced recalibration, and he noticed this and something in him settled slightly. "You're a teacher," he said. Not a question. He had heard the part about the school board. "English. 4 years. They cut the arts program. This week." She said it with the flatness of someone who has spent a week being sad about something and is now on the other side of the acute stage. "I was building a creative writing elective that 30 kids had signed up for. Kids who don't sign up for things. The kind who sit in the back and pretend nothing matters and then give you a piece of writing that stops you in the hallway." She stopped. "I'm sorry. That's a lot for someone I've met in a towel." The precursor to a smile returned and this time it completed itself. It was a quiet smile, entirely genuine, the kind that belonged to the person rather than the presentation. "Those kids," he said. "The ones who pretend nothing matters." He was quiet for a moment. "I was one of them." She looked at him across the kitchen island. The late night in the marble house and the robe on the back of the door and the good wine and the 3 hours from Albany were all still true, and also something else was becoming true alongside them that she did not have a category for yet. "Did a teacher help you?" she asked. He considered this. "One did," he said. "She taught history. She pulled me aside after class when I was 15 and told me I was the most analytical mind she'd encountered in 20 years of teaching and that it was going to be either my greatest asset or your most expensive liability depending on what I decided to do with it." He paused. "I've thought about that sentence approximately once a week for 27 years. Lena held her coffee cup and looked at this man who ran whatever it was he ran and had a lake house in the Catskills with a heated towel rack and who had, at 15, been the kind of kid who sat in the back and pretended nothing mattered. "She was right," Lena said. He looked at her. "You don't know me well enough to say that. You let a stranger stay in your house because it was dark and she'd had wine," Lena said. "And you made her coffee instead of making her uncomfortable. I know you well enough to say that one sentence tracked." The house was quiet around them. Somewhere outside the Catskills were doing their dark, wooded, nighttime thing, indifferent and enormous, and inside the kitchen the light was warm and the coffee was good and 2 people who had no reasonable explanation for being in the same room were finding, without planning for it, that the conversation was the kind that made the hours move differently. Nico Sartori refilled her cup without asking if she wanted more because it was empty and the answer was evident. She thought about 30 kids who had signed up for something and a school board who had taken it away and a 3-hour drive she was not making tonight. She thought about the sentence that a history teacher had given a 15-year-old boy that he had carried for 27 years. She picked up the cup. Outside, the Catskills went on being enormous, and inside, the kitchen went on being warm, and neither of them was in any particular hurry to change either of those things. Which was, Lena thought, for someone who had made exactly one bad decision in an otherwise remarkably practical life, turning out to be a surprisingly reasonable place to be.